Kapow, kapow, kapow. We are back with another reflection on the Daily Vedantic. And if you're listening to this and you didn't see the video, well, you should go check out the YouTube for the special effects we just added. Okay, there were no special effects, but I was shooting with my little 6-shooter fingers. But you should still go to YouTube, subscribe over there. If you dig these daily reflections, and even more, write comments with any questions that you have. It is fun to see comments starting to build in this channel. And I love answering the questions that come across people's minds while they're watching an episode. But today's reflection is on gratitude. There are 3 practices each day to Vedanta. The first is to question everything. This is a Swamiji special. Founder of the ashram, Swami Parthasarathi, who is our teacher. He lays out the 3 daily practices of Vedanta in a way that I had never seen laid out before. But these are the 3 daily perennial practices of Vedanta, according to Swami Parthasarathi. First is to question everything. Whether it is something in the outside world, whether it is some thought that you have internally, question everything. Don't just accept things because, well, a certain quantity of people do them. Don't just accept things because, well, it's been in my head since I was young. Question everything. Second practice is to not take anything for granted. Fortune or misfortune, don't take anything for granted. We have no idea what the blessings or the curses in our lives will actually be. You get $1 billion and maybe it completely rots your soul, ruins your children's lives. You get fired from a job and maybe that is the beginning of the path that you should have been on all along. I know when I was in my 20s, I wanted to build the biggest company possible. We got pretty far. After 2 years, it was valued at $400 million, and I was 27. And we were these high-profile founders right at the epicenter of Silicon Valley. And just a few years later, we would sell it in a fire sale to another company after completely whiffing on the opportunity that we had due to so many mistakes on my part as a first-time founder. And one of the things that I remember near the end of that chapter of my life was praying that we'd get a round of funding that would allow us to keep going for a few more years, and then everything was going to be A-okay. I remember praying for this round of funding to happen, and in the last minute, it got pulled out from under us. We had 12 days of cash left, and we were in a very precarious position as a company, something that you try every day to avoid. To be in essentially a situation where you have no control, no leverage, and 6 years of my life spent building this company felt like it was just slipping through my fingers. And I was so sure that the best outcome would be to keep running that company for the next 10, 20, 30 years. Fast forward 7 years later, and I am so thankful that didn't happen. I had no idea what I really wanted. We ended up selling our company to Airbnb, and at Airbnb, shoulder to shoulder with the CEO there, Brian, our desks were right next to each other. I saw, wow, this is a treadmill that never stops. He is one of the most admirable CEOs in the world, in my opinion. Phenomenal leader. But every day, 12 years in, arriving exhausted, depleted. And this was before going public. And when a company goes public, you basically start from scratch. You got to reprove yourself all over again. It is a 30-year treadmill. One that I just was not built for. Running a large technology company. I was wired to be a student and teacher of philosophy, to make a philosophy like Vedanta accessible to those that seek it. And every day that I do this, what I'm wired for, it is like a bird that's gliding for hundreds of miles off a single flap of its wings. That is not the case when I was running my company in my 20s. I was like a bird in water trying to paddle its feet instead of using its wings. And I was so dead certain that I knew what I wanted. I am so grateful that I was not in control of that scenario. That it didn't go down how I wanted it to. In fact, that is one of the things that I am most grateful in my life. Top 3 things that I'm most grateful for in my life. And at the time, for 18 months of stupor and depression, I would have wished for anything else than the experience I was going through. And now I look back and I would wish for nothing but that exact scenario to have taken place. There was nothing better in a situation where I thought there could be nothing worse. The third practice each day is to study and reflect daily on this timeless wisdom. But this episode is on the second practice. Don't take anything for granted. In other words, gratitude can expand infinitely. For all of the things that you think are good fortunes, it can expand just as infinitely over all of the things that you might think are misfortunes, or that you thought were misfortunes at the time. Aldous Huxley has this beautiful quote. He's a noted Vedantin student, by the way. Huge donor for the Vedanta Society of Southern California here in LA. And he had this great quote: "The only infinite capacity that humans have is the ability to take things for granted." So this second practice each day isn't just, well, see if there are 2 or 3 or 4 more things that you might be taking for granted right here, right now in your daily life. The practice is a recognition that there are an infinite number of things that we are capable of taking for granted. Trial or triumph? What could you be taking for granted? Especially in that first bucket. That right now you think you'd wish for it to be gone. Desiring to change an aspect of your circumstance right now in life. Gratitude and desire actually cannot coexist. So not only do you swap out your desire, your longing, for gratefulness when you choose gratitude over desiring to change that aspect, but even more than that, cultivating a gratitude for it might shine a light on the fact that that might be the best thing that could possibly be happening for you right here, right now. Because so often in life, the thing that we would have done anything to change at that time ends up being the best thing that could have ever happened to us. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Daily Vedantic. This reflection is part of a free repeating 2-year course in Advaita Vedanta. Rooted in the timeless wisdom of the Upanishads, arguably the oldest philosophical texts on earth, you can begin with episode 1, which gives the 15-minute overview of the whole philosophy of Vedanta, or you can join the journey with any episode at any point. But the critical aspect of this course, of understanding and mastering anything, is to study and reflect, even for 10 to 15 minutes on the timeless each day, preferably at the start of your day. As is said in this philosophy, reflection is 100,000 times as powerful as listening. So listen, journal, sit with, discuss these concepts, or ask questions at thedailyvedantic.com with our AI-powered chatbot informed by about 700 episodes here, as regularly as one can if you want to see clarity and peace almost effortlessly unfold in your daily life. And if it doesn't result in a near immediate increase in clarity and peace, then toss aside and feel free to never listen again. One of the things that you might notice is after 7 or 8 days in a row, this doesn't feel like a discipline. This feels like a visit with a best friend to dive into the timeless with daily reflection. Within a few days, it becomes one of your favorite parts of the day. You can also find out more, including news about in-person events in Los Angeles and beyond, at The Daily Vedantic on Instagram or through our weekly newsletter at thedailyvedantic.com. Additionally, check out the links in our show notes for more resources like the books that are mentioned most frequently in the episodes, including Vedanta Treatise, perhaps the simplest and most straightforward read on this philosophy I've ever come across. Until next time, and from the entire team that works on the Daily Vedantic project, thanks for listening.